And I want you guys to think about temptations like this, okay? Here's Frank, right? He's living his life. Temptation, biblically, is always from the external. So imagine Frank is living his life, he's doing his thing. Temptation is he's being hit from the outside in. Okay, temptation is that carrot that's dangling. Temptation is external. So whenever you think about temptation in the biblical sense, you always have to see it as things that are coming to you to draw you away from God. And you can see that in Luke 4 when Jesus for 40 days was in the desert. Satan tempted him with things outside of him. He said, I'll give you all the kingdoms of the earth. Just worship me. Turn this stone into bread since you're the Son of God. He was supposed to be fasting, but it was like, hey, you're hungry. So everything was outside of him. So temptation, even though there is a sense that temptation comes from within, and James will talk about that. So what James says is if you deal with the demon within, that is our sin nature, our evil nature. See, all of us have a good and evil nature. We have the knowledge of good and evil, and it goes back to Adam and Eve. And no one can deal with your evil nature except for the gospel in Jesus Christ. No matter how much education you get, no matter how much entertainment you have in your life, no matter how many friends, no one can deal with the demon of your heart. Our hearts are constantly in a struggle between good and evil. Galatians talks about that. The flesh, your sin nature, is at war with your spirit. If you're a Christian. If you're not a Christian, your sin nature completely controls you. Ephesians 2 says, before we were Christians, we did whatever our sinful thoughts and desires wanted. We were controlled by the prince of the power of the air, the spirit who now is at work in those who are disobedient. So Satan had complete control. He could just pull our strings like a puppet. So temptation is a force or a presentation. It's like the marketing, it's like advertisement that's luring you to do something. It wants you to do something. And ultimately, temptation wants us to sin against God. My professor used to always say, you can't stop the birds from flying over your head. You can't stop temptation. And let me say this. Some of us think, because we've been tempted a lot lately in our lives, and it's funny because as I was preparing to preach and teach on this, this week I've been just getting hit in my mind with temptation. And my professor used to say, you can't stop the birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from making a nest. And this would be a nice nest, man. Thank you. But because it's clean and free. It's free, so amen. So basically, temptation is going to hit us. It's going to hit you. And some of us think because we are being tempted, that's evil in and of itself. You're getting the evil thoughts. You're constantly having the bait lured in front of you. You need to know that it's not. And God is not the source of that evil. Because that was a temptation, is to say that, man, you know what? God is tempting me. God's making life very difficult for me.